We gather this morning to celebrate the life and mourn the passing of Dr. Rafael Canton, a man with so many interests and passions, some of which will be reflected here, and beyond even that. A man who loved expansively and shared that love with as many people as he possibly could. I am the Reverend Dana Worsnop, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura, where Rafael was a member for decades. I welcome you all. Rafael's son, Bruce, and daughter-in-law, Darcy. Nephew, Steve Law, and his son, Jason. Great-nephew, Gustavo, and his wife, Heather. Rafael, this is a relatively smaller contingent of his family, because they celebrated, there was a celebration of life for Rafael in Virginia that happened about a month ago, and other family were able to attend there. And there are 7 great-grandchildren and lots of nieces and nephews all over the place. And so, if not in person, in spirit, we welcome them as well. And alas, Rafael's older sister, Carolina, who is 103, was unable to travel to be with us today. We are so grateful to you for coming here so that we could remember Rafael with you and celebrate his century and more on the planet. Thank you for coming all this way so that we get to do this too. Coming all this way to celebrate him and also to reunite him with his beloved wife, Jane. I just want to say I extend the sympathy and condolences of all of this congregation to you all. We miss him too. And so now great-nephews Gustavo and Jason will come forward and light the chalice of our Unitarian Universalist faith. A human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born, it is sacred in its living, and it is sacred in its dying. Let us honor together the sacred life and memory of Rafael Canton. And now we get to hear Arturo Perez play El Cielito Lindo on his accordion. It was a favorite Spanish love song that Rafael loved. He always enjoyed singing it, especially in the last year of his life. And it is a song familiar to many, and you are invited to sing along in the chorus. The words are will be up on the screens. And as we do, as Arturo plays and we sing as we are moved, let us imagine Rafael joyfully singing right along with us.
again. Ay, 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 ay. Canta y no llores.
Okay, so he's already showed up. Thank you for singing along. We now have a reading from, who's doing this reading? The Robert Louis Stevenson? Oh, I guess I'm reading it. Thank you. I realize I don't have it on the script, and so this is chosen by his family and seems fitting for our dear Rafael. It's by Robert Louis Stevenson. He has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much. Who has gained the respect of intelligent people and the love of little children. Who has filled his niche and accomplished his task. Who has left the world better than he found it. Who has looked for the best in others and given the best he had. Whose life was an inspiration. Whose memory is a benediction. And so now we gather people from many parts of Rafael's life to share briefly the many activities and interests of this beloved man. I will begin, followed by Rafael's longtime fellow church member, Gudrun Eastham, and then neighbor Nancy Peebles, followed by Rotarian Rich Stewart, and lastly, Rafael's nephew, Steve Law. And later in the service, there will be time to share more memories if you want to come forward and share. So now if you will come forward. Okay. For you, it's on.
Is it on?
Mm-hmm. Dr. Rafael Canton, a beloved member of this community, passed away on September 29th, 2023, at the age of 102 in Culpeper, Virginia. He was born on June 9th, 1921 in Managua, Nicaragua, and Dr. Canton dedicated his life to his work in psychiatry, to his family, and to his wider community.
Rafael, known affectionately as Rafa, Ray, Dad, Papa Rafael, Granddaddy, Aw Daddy, Tio Rafa, and Uncle Ray, was an amazing man, full of love and acceptance for all those around him. He had such a warm smile, which he shared generously, and his infamous group hugs made everyone feel included and valued. He was deeply committed to creating new, pleasant memories and making a positive impact on the lives of all others.
After completing his primary and high school education in Panama, Dr. Canton pursued a medical degree from Tulane University in New Orleans, Louisiana, and completed his residency in psychiatry at the renowned New York Psychiatric Institute, where he met his wife, Jane Ann Smith. Throughout his career, Dr. Canton made a significant contribution to the field of psychiatry. He served at various institutions, including the Hospital of Psychiatry in Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico, the outpatient clinic at Santo Thomas Hospital in Panama, and as the chief psychiatrist at Napa State Hospital in Napa, California. He also served as the director of the Ventura County Mental Health Facility in Ventura, California, and as the medical director at Anacapa Mental Health and Vista Del Mar Psychiatric Facility in California. Being bilingual, Dr. Canton's dedication to community outreach led him to broadcast mental health programs in Spanish from an Oxnard, California radio station, providing valuable support to the Latino population. He also maintained a private practice at Ventura Psychiatric Medical Group until the age of 100.
Outside of his professional life, Rafael found joy in various hobbies. He was a member of a barbershop quartet, enjoyed ballroom dancing, and had a passion for traveling the world. Dr. Canton actively participated in the Rotary Club of Ventura East here in Ventura and the Rappahannock Senior Center in Castleton, Virginia. He also had a green thumb and loved spending time in his garden, growing fruits and tending to his plants. Rafael found fulfillment in attending the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura and later at Living Water Church in Amosville, Virginia.
Alrighty. Dr. Canton is survived by his 2 children, 4 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren, daughter Laura Hill, and her son Christopher, and son Bruce Canton, and wife Darcy, and their 3 children, Timothy, his daughter Isabel, Daniel, and wife Tabitha, and their 4 children, Asher, Zariah, Brazen, and Juliana, and Joy, and her husband Will Orr, and their 2 children, Kinsey and Hayden. He is also survived by his older sister, my mom, Carolina Law, 103, and numerous beloved nieces and nephews. Rafa was preceded in death by his parents, Adon Canton and Adelphia Duarte, and his brother Alfredo, his sister Lourdes, and his precious wife of many years, Jane Canton Smith of Maine.
I turned that off. You want me to take it?
Okay, so yeah, Rafael loved to sing, including barbershop. And so here is an impromptu barbershop quartet here to bring Rafael's spirit and the joy of their music and the music that he loved. He just keeps showing up, doesn't he? Let that be be the siren call for us to take some moments in silent tribute to Rafael. As you sit quietly, let your mind picture Rafael the way you would most like to remember him. A simple image may rise before you, a tune may come to your ear, or perhaps it will be the feeling you had when embraced in a group hug. And know that as you think of the ways you touched your life, Rafael will be here, present among us in spirit. For those who die most surely live on in our memories. And the moment someone dies, we must begin our tender work of memory. A silent tribute to Dr. Rafael Canton. I now invite all those who wish to come forward and share a memory of Rafael. You may come forward, just please introduce yourselves, how you knew Rafael, and then speak into this microphone. And also, if somebody would like to share who, we don't have, this is not the most accessible chancel, so if you want to, you could come forward and I will give you a handheld mic and you can speak to us that way. So, anyone wish to come forward and begin sharing some memories?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Yukio Okano, and I had the privilege of getting to know Rafael pretty well the last few years of his life in my work on the pastoral ministry team. What a life. What a role model. I know he worked until he was 100 and was driving, an amazing role model for graceful aging. I just wanted to share some brief comments about Rafael and his hugs. So, of course, we know that Rafael was famous for his group hugs. My wife Madeline and I often sat right in front of him, over there in that corner, and Rafael would hug anybody near him. And typically, we would be part of a group hug before the service and right after the service. During the pandemic, of course, the church was shut down for much of 2020 and part of 2021. We were not together, and there were no group hugs. And even after we reopened slowly, we were all cautious and almost afraid to touch one another. So we really missed our hugs during the pandemic. I think we all realized something was missing when wearing a mask, social distancing, and working from home, when that became the norm. So I want to thank Rafael for reminding us that real human contact is important for our humanity.
We have a little bit of a backup, so please come forward and then you two can come up.
Good morning. Like Rafael, I'm a psychiatrist, and as far as I know, I'm his oldest living partner. Thank you. Rafael, when he was running the Ventura County Mental Health Center, gave me my first job in 1975. This was a Saturday job to supplement my income as a trainee in residency at UCLA. And then within a year or two, we were partners in an organization that has survived until today in various forms. And I can tell you that he was an exceptional person to have around, always smiling, and of course insisting on group hugs whenever possible. As he got to be 100 years old, he was cutting back a little bit on his practice. I think that's reasonable. When you get to be 100, I'm looking forward to that, cutting back a little bit. And I inherited some of his patients, and I can tell you they are all very grateful for his compassion and caring over the years. And one can not hope for anything better than the people you're working with. I think also he's a very multidimensional man, and I think it's wonderful to have all of you here today to put all the dimensions together in this celebration of life, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm second oldest partner? No. I also worked with Dr. Canton. I'm Dr. Thurston's wife, and we've been in private practice with him since I met Ron. So for 34 years, we all worked together. And he'd group hug, of course, and I brought therapy dogs to work, and he would hug the dogs. So it was, I trusted him implicitly, and even, it makes me a little emotional. He saw my daughter for several years, and she succeeded wonderfully in life because of him. So we all miss him, and we're glad to keep working and doing what he loved.
We were all in the humanist group, the discussion group, for seems like a decade or more, probably quite a while. And he wrote that book. We went through that. We went through all different discussions through the many years. And he was always like so sincere and so, good to people. And there was an occasion, here with somebody that's not here anymore, but he didn't just like jump in on things and go with, he had a thoughtful approach and saved the day between, people that were, I'm like, okay, this guy is something. But he was wonderful. I'd run into him at Vaughn's, and then for the when we'd go caroling and stuff, he'd always come caroling, and I'd always be, he'd say, "Come on over here," and we'd always get next to each other, and he'd have a grandkid or so in tow, and it was just always fun to be with him. He's a wonderful person, and there's one thing I resent. He never told me he was a ballroom dancer, and I did not know that I knew he was still working. He was still working as a psychologist and all that. But I didn't know that he'd been all these different, I'm like so impressed, like after the fact, could I at least compliment you when you were here? But I'm just totally floored by all his past history when I read about that. Well, we'll all miss him a great deal. Yeah.
I'm Jim Merrill. I currently serve as the president of the board of this church that Rafael knew and loved for so long. And apparently I'm catching a drift that he was known for something called group hugs. I don't know. But there was something else that comes to my mind very consistently about Rafael, and that is that we have a practice in this congregation of sharing the joys and sorrows that are part of a fully lived life, and one could always count on Rafael at the beginning of the season to point out when the first mockingbirds had arrived. He always loved to share that, and he always enjoyed sharing when different varieties of mangos came on the market.
Hello, my name is Cindy Pike, and I have been friends of the family for over 30 years, and I just loved Rafael. So I wrote a little poem called Group Hug. In a circle we gather close, hearts entwined, a group hug, a bond of love, so divinely designed. Arms enfold, creating a warm, embracing sea, a symphony of souls, untitled, wild and free. Whispers of laughter, tears, and secrets shared, in this sacred place no one feels unprepared. The power of togetherness, a comforting embrace, a group hug's magic in this sacred place. In unity we stand, no one left behind, in this circle of love, pure and kind. With each heartbeat of connection grows, in a group hug's warm and friendship flows. So let us hold each other close without end. In this group hug, a message we send of love, support, and kindship so dear. In a world of challenges, we conquer our fears.
I am Rudy Gutierrez. I had the great pleasure of getting to work for Rafael. He'd always catch me, I'd always catch him napping, and I'd come around the corner sweating, and he would tell me to take a break, you know. But I just keep going, and I had the great pleasure of driving him to the airport to come and meet or live with Bruce, and we had just this intense, wonderful, wonderful conversation that I hold very dear. And he had a fascination with pancake bread from where's that? Trader Joe's. Yeah. He always wanted that. So I told him on the way we should go over there and get some pancake bread. And we walked in there and man, we had a time. We definitely had a time. Everyone's staring at us and stuff, and they're like, "Is this guy is you know?" Because he was just so friendly, and everybody was helping us, and it was just a wonderful experience. He just brings light and a full heart of love. So I'm gonna miss him, and I had fun with the time with the family and all. So. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amada Irma Perez, and I've known Rafael for a long time in this church. He was one of our founding members of our Spanish group. So we had a group here many years ago that would gather after our service every month. Once a month we would gather right after in the community room, and we would just speak Spanish, and it felt so good. And Rafael was so enthusiastic about it. He would say, "Today's Spanish club, huh? Today's Spanish club." And he would gather people around, "Let's go. And don't forget, it's Spanish group today." So that was really, really special. And then, of course, his group hugs was so amazing. And one of the memories that I hold dear is that on his 100th birthday, we had a big party for him outside because we couldn't meet inside at the time. And Artie and I brought our little granddaughter, who was 4 at the time, and we decided to do a group hug with everybody present. So we made a huge circle, and our granddaughter ran up and stood right by Rafael. And here she was, 4 years old, just a little one. And we have that picture, and it will last forever, just as the memory of this great man will last forever. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jack Berry. I know this great man for about a year, and he taught me some techniques that I have used in my practice, and I was lucky enough to write him a letter before he died, telling him how I felt about him and how much my wife thought of him. I met his wife 40 years ago when I worked at Tri-County's Regional Center. We were colleagues. But we would share our own experiences a lot. Of course, he always gave me a hug. And I was just fortunate to be able to send him that letter in detail about what I thought about him. And I promised him that I would use his technique with people the rest of my life, and I will. God bless him.
I'm Nancy Peebles, and I had the honor and privilege of being Rafael's neighbor for over 25 years. I know God has a sense of humor because when our kids were little and we were looking for a house, he had the wisdom to plant me next to a psychiatrist. I am very, very zany person, and somehow it worked. And it's just been such a privilege, you know, getting to know Rafael all these years and his family. We love all you guys. We've been together for many meals, and living next door to Rafael, group hugs and hugs, it's like I've been hugged to death. So, I always remember, and I know my husband, my kids will, seeing Rafael and Jane leaving the house, going ballroom dancing. And we always had to stop and stare no matter what we were doing. Rafael would be in his white, I believe it was a tuxedo, and Jane in her long white ball gown. And they look like movie stars from another era. And we just had to stare. And it was a little intimidating at first, knowing I was living next to a psychiatrist. And a friend of mine, Sally, who used to live across the street, said to me one day, "Nancy, do you think Dr. Canton assesses us?" I said, "Probably, but I don't care." And there was an old show, Home Improvement, with Tim Allen, and quite often him and his neighbor would be talking through the fence, and quite often I'd find myself in my backyard. Rafael would be on the other side, and we'd be talking through the fence. And one day when my kids were little, they were particularly bickering, and I thought, here I have this wealth of knowledge, a doctor next to me, I'm going to get some great words of wisdom. And so I said, "Rafael, what do you think of this?" And he said, he paused. And my curiosity was piqued. He goes, "Well, kids," and he paused a little longer, and he said, "They'll do childish things." And so that's when I really knew early on that Rafael had a great sense of humor too. Let's see. I had a chameleon, and I think he kind of humored me a lot, and I loved my chameleon. I'd bring him out front, and Rafael would be out front a lot, and he'd see me in the chameleon, and told him how much I loved the chameleon, and he would remind me about the reptilian brain, you know. And I'd say, but I know he loves me. And with a little twinkle in his eye, he'd say, yes, I'm sure he loves you too. And one day, I was up on my roof putting a big neon green 40 on my roof because my brother was turning 40 and he'd never done much of anything. I want to take him flying and fly over my house and see the big 40 for his 40th birthday. And Rafael saw me up on the roof, and he's, just kind of, looks at me like he always does. And what are you doing? And I said, I'm putting a big 40 up here. And he's like, okay, sure. And so told him I was going flying with my brother. And then next year, it was October, and I was putting one of those witches up on my, one that looks like it ran into the house, flattened. So I'm up there holding a broom and stuff, and Rafael comes out, and he looks at me, he says, are you going flying? And I said, I don't know how to take that. Is it psychiatrist humor? I loved Rafael. We've just there's not enough time to say all the things and memories, and we've just loved him and his family, and hope we continue to see and spend time with the family. And you're all welcome to come visit whenever you get up that way. And a friend of mine in closing said she knew how much I loved Rafael, and she'd be over at the house with me a lot. She said, Nancy, now you have an angel in heaven. And I said, I don't think we actually become angels, but, that was a really comforting thought to me, that he's still up there probably orchestrating the biggest group hug ever. Thank you.
My name is Mohammed Hassan, and I just wanted to say that Dr. Canton was a great man. Great people don't die. They still are here and leave something behind. But before that, let me mention this to you. Many of you may know County Supervisor John Flynn, many of you. And we were talking, and he wanted to know how Dr. Canton was doing. And I said, he's doing very well. He said, Muhammad, he's a living angel. Out of nowhere, he said that. So that he knew, because they used to work together to bring the psychiatry in Ventura County, etc. You may have read my article that I wrote in Ventura Breeze about the doctor continues to work when he is 100 years old. That's where this picture came about. I took that picture in the middle and on his lawn. Anyway, most importantly, Dr. Canton was hilarious that I speak Spanish. I said, yeah, he didn't know at that time that I speak 5 other languages fluently. So it comes easy for me. But he taught me so many good things in Spanish. I don't know the street language of Spanish. I know much higher level of Spanish because of him. He, for example, many of you know Spanish maybe. He said, and those of you know, you have to listen carefully. No por mucho madrugar, amanecer más temprano. I said, what does it mean? So he would tell me. What it means is just because you got up early, sunrise isn't going to come for you right away. Think about it, etc., etc. This guy was so knowledgeable in Spanish language. She talked about it, but it's amazing. He even said, I have a Velasquez dictionary that I'll leave it for you. I don't know where it is. It's a big, thick book. I said, you must be kidding. I hate reading all these things. Actually, that was before internet. Nowadays, I can type in things and I can get so it's so easy. So Dr. Canton was a very hilarious person in many ways. He's very soft-spoken, et cetera, et cetera. When I got elected as for the United Water, he really loved it. How do I know? He was very good in online petitions. He would have all kinds of online petitions about the things that are there. He said, in my lifetime, I saw so many changes that has happened that I never thought it would happen. Such as apartheid is gone, such as, and he went on. So he was really, really dedicated. Now let's come back why I said he was a great man. You know, I had the pleasure of knowing him for 40 years. He would live in his house by himself. And actually, I met him at Rotary. I was the president of the Ventura East Rotary, at that centennial president. At that time, he says, I'm your neighbor. I said, you are? So we went over, and he felt so bad that he didn't know me before. But anyway, this is the person that wrote a book. That's where I got the inspiration to write my book on water. But he wrote a book. In that book, he said so many things about psychiatry. And so I have a sister that's a psychiatrist. And he talked about psychiatry. It's the name of the book is it's as a second language, your mental health. It's just people don't think about it. So all the things that he has done, if you read that book, he has left something behind for you to understand and continue living life healthily and happily. Thanks.
Our final speaker will be Darcy Canton.
Thank you all for coming, by the way. This means a lot. Dad was an amazing guy, as you all know, so I don't have to go over that anymore. He was also the expert at group hugs. He did them in Virginia, where we live. He did them here. He had the hospice workers doing them. He had the senior center doing them. He had the church there, the church here. He had everybody, and everybody loved it. Why? Because it made us all feel included and loved and important, and that's something we all crave. But it was genuine. He didn't do it for show. He did it because he really did love and care, which is pretty amazing. So I've been in the family for 36 years. So I'm just a newbie in the 102-year-old life of his. So it's been really fascinating hearing all of these stories from way back when, because I wasn't there and didn't know all that. But he wrote my husband and I a card one year for our anniversary, and this is what he said. I tell my patients that any human relationship needs cultivation like a garden. This means play up the good moments, play down the bad moments, and use diplomacy. Make every moment good. And that's how he lived his life. And all we can do is celebrate that he had 102 years to do that. You know? Who gets to do that? That's just amazing. He had a great life when he lived here. He spent most of his life here, but he was in Panama before that. He was in New York. He was all over the place. But he made every minute count. When he came, I just wanted to say this last thing. When he came to live with my husband and I a year and a half ago in Virginia, his health had declined, and cognitively he was not at the top of his game, but he never, ever quit. He just kept going. He wanted to make every day count. And he knew that he couldn't do all the things he could do before that. And sometimes you'd hear him say, I wish I could still, but most of the time, he just, okay, cornhole. I've never heard of cornhole. I'm going to learn how to play cornhole. And darn if that guy didn't become a darn good cornhole player. He came to my senior center. I run a senior center, and it's like a youth group for seniors, and he would come almost every day. My husband would bring him everywhere, and he'd come play cornhole. He learned how to paint. Did any of you know he knew how to paint? He learned how to paint. He learned how to, because he embraced every day. And if he had a message to give us today, I think it would be, live today for today. Live it to its fullest, because, tomorrow's tomorrow. Live today. Make it count. Make the memories count. He always would say, make new, pleasant memories. He was always about making, and it didn't matter if it was a big thing, just a little thing could be a new, pleasant memory. So our hope with this was that we would create new, pleasant memories in honor of Dad in our hearts, that we would remember that, because that was always important to him. And I do thank you all from the family for coming and being here today.
And now we get to sing together. Let there be peace on earth. Take it away, Carolyn.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father. We are family. Let me walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Raphael's grandson, Daniel Canton, will now read a poem written by Daniel's wife, Tabitha.
Please take a small hug to remember a man so dear. Group hugs were his specialty. They brought him so much cheer. Sweet memories of Rafael, let's take time to reflect. A man who left a legacy so full of love and respect. A big group hug in honor of his tender heart. Show each other kindness, whether together or apart.
So there will be these little hugs, little wooden hugs out on the tables, scattered on the tables of the reception after the service. And Raphael's family invites all to this reception, which will be in our what we call Berg Hall, and if you'll go out through these doors over here on your way out to the reception, there will be food and conversation and time to share more memories. Now, the family will be leaving sometime after 1 o'clock for a private interment of ashes service at Ivy Lawn, where Raphael will be reunited with his beloved Jane. So as you leave this afternoon, Yeah, it is afternoon. As you leave this service, even as you say goodbye, take the memory of Dr. Rafael Canton with you, knowing that in gathering here and in celebration of Rafael and in sorrow at his loss, you honor his life and his precious memory. Let this be one more pleasant memory to carry forward in your life. Go in peace, dear Rafael. You have done so very well. And in case you thought you were going to get away out of here without a group hug, you were wrong. And I don't know how we're going to do this. We did it at his 100th birthday party. Everybody sort of got up to the extent that you can. Go circle around the outside and come in front here around the outside, and we're going to do it. Yeah, bring him. Yeah, absolutely. Okay? So hands on shoulders, locked in arms. You know, this hug does not have to be a perfect circle because there's so many circles. There's so much overlapping of love and respect and joy. But remember how much we need each other, the joy that we give each other, and let us freely show our affection for our fellow human beings whenever we can. And when you feel that affection for another and you express it, know that Rafael is going to be cheering on from the biggest group hug there ever was in all the world, watching over us all. So go forth and celebrate and make more pleasant memories together. May it be so. Big hug.
That's right. Hug your neighbor. Thank you, Rich.
All right. Go forth out these doors if you can, and nosh, and share memories.